Hi guys, hope you're all well. I thought I'd make this little video just because Gong's brought out the new system, which is the V3 system, and it's a bit of a minefield, so maybe I can help a few people out. I spent about 4 hours reading through the blurb because that's just how my brain works, and I'm really interested by all this stuff, so I thought I'd try and put it into a quick 5-minute video. So people were asking, am I on the V1 or the V2 system? The V3 has just come out, so obviously you're not on that yet. So the V2 system would be this wider mast that you see here. The V1 was a thinner mast, quite a bit thinner, and that came out about 4 years ago, so most people will probably be on the V2 system. So but check that out, make sure you're ordering the right stuff. Now Gong has a saying that everything will fit with everything, and they've really tried to think about that when they've made these different fuselages. There's over 8 different fuselages because you can get them in titanium as well, but there's 8 different fittings or so, and most of them are regarding the V2 mast or the V3 mast. So unless you're buying a mast, you may want to use your older mast, whether that's aluminium or carbon. I know I would probably keep my carbon mast because I've only just got it, so I would probably keep that. So I'd be looking for a V2 fitting with a V3 front and a V3 rear. Now they do a V2 with a V3 rear, or a V3 front with the V2 front, or a V2 rear. You can just choose whichever one you want. So by that, what I mean is you can buy a V3 front wing that you can use with your V2 mast and your V2 stab, if you have that, like I've got the Freestyle for instance. Or if you wanted to, I don't know why you would, but if you wanted to, you could buy a square fitting front wing, so a V2 front wing on a V3 oval fitting mast with a V3 rear, so you can get every different possible combination what suits you to what you want to do. Personally, I don't understand why you would mix a V2 front and rear in any way, because you're eventually going to move on to the other one, so you might as well get V3. I know it's a bigger expense at the beginning, but you know you're gonna have to buy another fuse as well. So personally, I would probably think, well, my most expensive thing is my mast, so I'm gonna get a V2 mast fitting and then V3 front and rear, you know. But each to their own. You might really like a certain style of stab, like I know I like the Freestyles, but more about that in a little while. So you may want to stick to that V2 rear, for instance. I'm not really sure why you would buy the oval V3 mast, oval new fuselage with the V2 fittings on. But you know, it does feel that hole that Gong says everything fits with everything. Well, it sure does with the system that they've got. There's a lot of options there, so just pick the option that's right for you, your kit that you've already got in your local conditions, and then you won't go far wrong. As for the front wings, they're quite interesting. They are all on the same wavelength as they were last time, so you've still got your fluid, your veloci and your curve, and also the new downwind wing, and they all are in kind of the same programs for me. My favorite will obviously be the curve H, because it's still within the program that I like for the conditions that I get in my local area. There's no point me buying, say, a small fluid for my conditions, because my waves just aren't big enough and they're not fast enough, so I don't need that type of front wing, you know. And also they're designed for jumping, which I've got no interest in whatsoever, so I want a more curvy, more slower front wing that I can use in these waves that we get in our local conditions on our local coastline. And that's what you've got to think about, and then match that up with the stab of your choice. If you're just about to buy a whole new system, then I would just go straight onto the V3. Don't go into the V2, because the future will be all on oval, I should imagine, for the next few years at least. All this stuff is moving pretty fast, so you're probably better off going with the oval system, because I would like to think that it's going to be there for a few generations at least, and hopefully longer than that, really, because it gets expensive when you're changing out all this stuff all the time. Yes, you do get more performance from it, which I understand, but it is very expensive, and we all have just X amount of money to spend on this gear, depending on your own personal situation. So that's it from me on this one, really. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an insight. Oh, I was going to talk about stabs. Sorry, the stabs, the new stabs are brought out. Well, you've got stabs in the different lengths. The fluid you've got, which is a radical stab, designed to go with the fluids. The curves designed to go with the curves, obviously, but the curve is actually quite a short stab, so I would think that would replace my Freestyle. It's the same length of my Freestyle, so I'd like to think that that would be sort of equivalent to that, so that's probably what I would go for. They haven't brought a freestyle stab out on this one, I don't know why. I'm sure that Patrice will give us a video very shortly of what each wing is for and how it works within the system and what performances you're going to get out of each wing. He normally does something like that after a few weeks of release, so hopefully we'll do that just to clear up all these things that I'm saying and give us a better understanding of all these different front wings. But like I say, I'm excited about the Veloci H, excited about the downwind one. I think the whole system looks great. I'll probably go with a titanium fuselage just for longevity. You do need to change your fuselages about every year because aluminium does fatigue in every single brand and has a possibility of snapping at some point if you're constantly putting lots of pressure, especially as a bigger guy like myself, through that front wing. You will fatigue that front wing. I know it's an expense going for the titanium fuselage, but that peace of mind, especially if you're going further out to sea, and they do suggest if you're going out more than 300 meters, then you should go onto the titanium just for safety reasons. You know, there's nothing worse than snapping a front wing when you're out at sea and losing that front wing, and then how you're getting back in. That's a big issue. And that's all brands, not just Gong. You know, just other people don't talk about these things. I think in some of the blurb and some of the advertising campaigns, you know, stuff does fail. You know, titanium is a very strong metal and is guaranteed that it's not going to fail. You know, me personally, I'm quite excited about the Veloci and the downwind wings as well, because I'm wanting to start playing around with downwind boards, but I haven't even managed to save the money for one of those yet, so I'm a long way away from getting a downwind front wing. But they are quite interesting because they're around about the axis measurements. You know, the closer to that, the axis is about a 12 aspect ratio. The new downwind front wings are 13, and the Veloci H is about 10, I think, or was it 11, 10 or somewhere around there. Yeah, 10. And the curve is at 8.4, whereas the curve, the V2 version, is 8.5. So they're not a million miles away, but they are a little bit thinner as well. They say that they glide a little bit more. So when you're buying this kit, you need to buy kit that is suitable for the conditions where you ride. There's no point buying yourself kit that you're not going to be able to use in your own local conditions. So for me personally, I was quite excited about the curve H's and that little bit more performance, the new shapes, etc. And I was also a little bit excited about the downwind stuff and also the Veloci in the H, which seems to be a compromise, a little bit more glide than say my current curve, but not quite as high aspect and as hard possibly as the 13 aspect ratio of the downwind kit, which I'm sure is amazing. But you know, maybe I'm not quite at that level yet, so maybe I'm going to pick somewhere in between, but I can't afford it at the moment, so it'll be a little while before I get anything. But this is just my first thoughts. Anyway, that's it for this one. That's my little 2 pence on the system so far. Hope that helps a couple of people out, gives you a better understanding of what goes with what and what you can and cannot do. Like I say, I'm excited, but I'll see you guys on the next one, and we'll see what's released by Gong next. So take care and good wins. See you later.